Bob, hey, it's good to spend some time with you today. And I know we're going to dive into, a litany of top of mind topics for our nonprofit clients. An area that's really jumped out as prominent and prevalent for our clients in recent months and frankly years has been the growing drive toward virtualization. Some of the benefits, some of the key areas where this helps them address the markets that they support, and then really where the innovation continues to go, what it empowers and enables them to do. So excited about today's topic. And why don't you spend a moment, introduce yourself, your role, and then we'll dive into the dialogue.
Thank you, Carson, for taking time on a Friday afternoon of all things to allow me to share some insights with you. My name is Bob Pugh. I spent about 14 years at Microsoft prior to coming to BDO, was a field seller as well in the Azure space, and had some tremendous experiences. And now I run our Azure infrastructure service line, and I'm anxious to talk to you. We engage with quite a few of the Microsoft nonprofits, and have some good experiences that we'd like to share with you.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Bob. Let's go right into the heart of it. Why is virtualization such a hot topic right now?
And it is. I think that the two primary reasons are enhanced security and cost reduction or cost optimization. I mean, it really falls in line with cloud in general and aligns with Microsoft's strategies. I think that there's a third piece of this, though, as you talk about technologies, you talk about agitation with some of the market conditions and rising license costs, et cetera. But the third one I think that really was of interest was this new Azure Local, which was allowing folks to run in a hybrid environment. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I felt like coming off of Ignite that was a game changer and one that I really want to, we're excited to share with folks as well. But overall, I'd say cost optimization, enhanced security, and then this new hybrid model as well plays very nicely, and all of
Yeah.
those really drive it.
I mean, look, I know you and I are talking to these customer executives and nonprofit executives on a regular basis. And I mean, these things matter a great deal. Security and cost optimization are so critical because they free up resources to be able to do more for the mission. But security is so paramount because of, after healthcare, nonprofit is the second most targeted industry vertical. And so these are definitely topics that are top of mind. I find a lot of times when these announcements come out, I agree with you. Azure Local is extremely prominent in dialogue right now. Help us navigate through these waters. There's so many things that are announced. Sometimes customers, I mean, God love them. I don't know how they can make heads or tails out of some of these announcements. Help to demystify. What are some of the options that people have right now when it comes to virtualization?
Well, we'll start at the desktop and then we'll kind of blow up from there.
Perfect.
But starting with the desktop, the Azure Virtual Desktop is an area that clients seem to really cotton to for that control, for that consistent look and feel, for that cost reduction. And I think the other one, that enhanced security, has to play here. Being able to disable the other areas of the machine, saving data locally. Well, we can disable that while you're using this application. There was a presentation I sat in yesterday about AI, and one of the comments, one of the fears from CIOs and CEOs was, I know that people are doing it on their desktop. Imagine, what is AI built on? What does it consume? All that data. Here's a way for me to run my AI models and pull that data out. So how do we protect against those kinds of things? Maybe can't stop it, but how do we protect against that? And that certainly plays very big into what we want to do. So the Azure Virtual Desktop solution, it's proven, well worn, very easy to stand up. And then the other piece is it's so inexpensive. A typical footprint is a couple $100 to get us started and just plays so well. So very easy with the Azure Virtual Desktop, starting small.
There's so many customer executives right now that I'm speaking to in the nonprofit space that they know that they need to, or they have edicts from their board that, we need to do more to harness the data we have. We need to, unlock insights with artificial intelligence, with AI to better support our constituents all the way to, doing more predictive research work. I mean, it runs the gamut, but what you described, Bob, is very foundational. This creates an infrastructure that really empowers and enables security at the ground level, but also opens up this world of possibilities that can be tapped into because we have better access to this data. Um, that I think is one of the key considerations when we think about what should nonprofits be thinking about, how can they be thinking about this? What are some of the things that you tell nonprofits to think about as part of this process, or what are some of the other important considerations?
Well, I think that, we were working with one client here not too long ago, actually continuing on the remediation process. And some
Yeah.
of the feedback was poor performance, as well as the security, because they have field agents, if you will, field staff, I guess. Field
Yeah.
agents sound a little odd, but field staff that are in unstable and dangerous situations. How can we make sure that what they're doing, reporting, and the data that they have access to is not compromised? Obviously, we've got all the other passwords and biometrics into the machine, but God forbid the machine does get compromised. Well, now we have a way to keep that data sequestered from the local machine. But
I love that. Anything else that should be considerations? And then I want to talk more about the cost piece because I think that's another big one.
it's huge, and I'll stop there. There are a couple other areas that we're gonna blow up in just a minute,
Beautiful.
but to finish out there, I just think that the experience with AVD is that very quickly we can have applications packaged, we can have an environment stood up and ready to go, and even the work to do to deploy is so easy. And I don't know. I just clients, we've yet to have a client that was, oh my gosh, that's not what I expected. It didn't
Yeah.
meet my expectations. And that's really because the service is so well documented and provides exactly what they're looking for, as we've discussed here.
That's amazing perspective to provide, Bob, because I think, and I've done a lot of research in this space. I know that, oftentimes organizations and especially nonprofits, they're not necessarily married to their status quo or their current trajectory or what they've been doing. They operate on very tight budgets, and it's challenging to make decisions that drastically change what they're familiar with. So I love that you've talked about some of these considerations. When we think about costs and when we think about the budgets that a lot of these nonprofits are operating on, how does this migration and leveraging Azure from a virtual desktop perspective, how does this unlock cost savings while also at the same time, I mean, it sounds too good to be true, also at the same time bolstering security?
The one of the areas that we're just now exploring, and Carson, I'm going to have to say I can't remember what the name of the little black box that was announced at Ignite, but and you probably want to edit this, but that black box, which basically is a PC in a box, has a few outlets to it. Now we could use Azure Virtual Desktop to work right on top of that machine. So we're taking out costs there, number one. We install once, and the management of those applications is done on the back end instead of having to deploy all of those and manage all of those in workstations. Obviously, Microsoft has solutions there as well, but I think the installation, for one, and the packaging of that, we do that once. Then we have the opportunity for spinning up desktops and spinning those down. So the auto scaling feature is just a tremendous another piece. And actually, when we do with the pricing calculator, when we go in, the cost is on the high end. We're looking at somewhere around 90% utilization, but most of the time we're hanging more like at 25, 35% utilization. What does that translate to? You pay for what you consume, so the numbers go down as far as what your monthly Azure bill is.
Windows 365 link. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I can't even keep up with all these incredible announcements. Things happen so quickly. And I think the key element, if anybody, watching has a key takeaway today, it's engage in conversation. These I often like to say, like even within Microsoft Tech for Social Impact, often our organization is one of the best kept secrets in Microsoft, and it shouldn't be. We invest over $4 billion a year into the nonprofit sector, and there are people standing at the ready to partner with you and collaborate with you to go on this journey. It's so critical. Things are changing all the time, and that's what the professionals like Bob and BDO do all day, every day. Um, Given your unique experience, Bob, in this wheelhouse, what would you say are some of the challenges that nonprofits are typically facing when they're going from a traditional infrastructure? I mean, I know there's a lot of folks out there that have Citrix environments as an example. What are some of the challenges that people should be thinking about and that they will ultimately face going to AVD?
I want to come back real quickly and finish out on your funding piece, though. You made a
Yeah.
great point there, Carson. And what I would say is I have yet to have an experience where Microsoft doesn't really lean in heavily with additional resources to support VDO or the client, but additionally the funding as well. And I think that's a key piece to this. When you said we invest over four, I'm sorry, that Microsoft invests over 4
Yeah.
billion annually. I haven't had an engagement yet where Microsoft is involved that they haven't funded some of that. And I think that just speaks to the spirit of partnership and the spirit of getting things done quickly. That just greases the wheels and allows those projects to get done much quicker.
I mean, look, we invest in innovation, and from our CEO Satya Nadella on down, there is a sense of purpose and responsibility in this space to bolster those that we serve and the infrastructures that they have so that they can not only do more, which is part of our mission statement, but also to do it securely, do it ethically, do it compliantly, do it safely. It's just, I take that very seriously.
Clearly. But coming back around to your question there about things that folks are concerned about or challenges, and I think the first one is it really that easy? I think that the folks that we work with who are inexperienced with Windows 365 or with AVD, Azure Virtual Desktop, I think the first observation is, gosh, that's not really as hard as I thought it would be. I mean, packaging apps takes typically an hour or two per application, and that's if it's brand spanking new. But
Yeah.
I think overall, is it really that easy? Number one. The scalability is another one that I think folks struggle with because at first they don't understand what that really means and how it works. And then over time, once they get a sense of it and you're able to show that, ultimately it translates to cost savings. That's another strong challenge. And then I think the third one is that there's a fear of I have all this investment in desktops and the management staff of that. Do these folks go away? And what I say to that is no, let's take the easy stuff and let's use the tools to make that life easier and let these folks focus on the additional tasks or those things that we want to get to that we just can't.
Yes. I love that answer. And, look, there's been a lot of changes in this ecosystem. I think there will continue to be, especially around like even VMware. I know there's been a lot of changes in that ecosystem. What are some things people should be thinking about in that environment where, maybe there's been a change in their VMware investment and that ecosystem where they could be leveraging AVD or Azure VMware services? Talk to
Yeah,
us more about that. Can you articulate that journey?
sure can. And I think what's exciting is that this isn't sort of like the first flavor or iteration of this for Microsoft. This is a solution that has been iterated upon for a couple years now. And I think what's exciting is that clients have two options. According to Gartner and others, it's anywhere from 2x to 15x increase in the VMware licensing cost. So there's frustration there. And particularly as we look at cash strapped organizations like TSI organizations, we have to be cognizant of that. So we
Yeah.
have two options. One of them is, do we want to go fast? And if we want to go fast, then let's just do the migration from our VMware on-premises environment to Azure VMware Service. things work. As a matter of fact, we've got two of those that we're working on now that really are moving along nicely. And the client is stunned because one of the things that they were afraid of again was, am I going to lose all that expertise that we've built up over years? And the answer to that is no, because you want to go fast. Great. Let's get you into the Azure VMware service. Things to consider in usage of that are, where are we on our hardware lease cycle, and then where are we with the VMware license renewal. So those are two things to consider. And if you got to go fast, VMware service slam dunk. There's three different gradations and sizes that allow you to get greater density, or right size for the requirements that you have. And then the other piece is, if we do have some time, then we have the opportunity to go to native VMs and rationalize the environment and do the classic 6R analysis and make sure that we right fit. And then that gives you the opportunity to really optimize, and gives you the opportunity to get deeper into your environment. As we know, there's always VMs that can be turned down. So really what you're based on is it time, or it's the amount of time that we have. We got to go fast. Azure VMware Service, slam dunk. And then if we have time and we want to consider native VMs, then that's an option as well.
Powerful. You make it easy. I'm thinking too, Bob, like,
No, no, Microsoft makes it easy. I mean,
oh,
let's be clear.
I love it. We're going to talk more about that in a second and getting started. But and I also know, look, we're talking to executives, we're talking to leaders, we're also talking to people that are in the weeds, in the field, doing this stuff each and every day, living and breathing it. And they care about results, they care about ROI, they care about how can we de-risk their decision to go down this path. So as we kind of round the bend here, I want to. Do you have any good success stories of maybe where a nonprofit or nonprofits are benefiting significantly from going to virtual desktops with Azure or moving VMware workloads?
Working with a prominent client, Carson, and as I referenced earlier about we have field staff in dangerous and unstable environments. Well, they also have performance challenges as well. So we actually started out with remediation of their environment, and there were some things that needed to be retooled. But one of the other opportunities to really enhance it, I think this speaks to the power of either Windows 365 or Azure Virtual Desktop, how quickly we could stand up additional instances globally to satisfy the requirements of, hey, there's room for improvement. So we were able to instantiate 3 additional environments for them. Great performance improvement, which you would expect because we removed latency, but then also that enhanced security, which was dangerous and unstable environments. I keep saying that because I've never seen that before
Yeah.
referenced, and it was just so unusual. But we took a lot of pride in the fact that, hey, we're really safeguarding this company's jewels in the field with Azure Virtual Desktop.
That's powerful. I think the next logical step is let's get prescriptive. Where could and should some of these folks start? I often like to tell, because I think a lot of my role is really being able to evangelize what's available. And that's why I very intentionally joined Tech for Social Impact from having worked in the commercial space and even in our enterprise healthcare space. I joined Tech for Social Impact very intentionally because often one of the biggest checks that our customers write is to Microsoft. I take that very seriously to safeguard that investment and to make sure that they're aware of the resources that they're entitled to, whether it's funding dollars that we can provide for partners to help them go down this path, whether it's leveraging our innovation hubs and some of these technical architects that can be, part of road mapping and envisioning and, looking at the strategic architecture where they can go forward, all the way to uncovering some of these use cases. A lot of what you've described today, Bob, sets up the infrastructure in a way that will enable them to do some of these powerful things that they want to do around unlocking data, but also being secure, being able to scale, being able to support constituents globally. There's a lot of real powerful things that we can unpack. Where do clients get started? What's the next step for them?
The most logical next step is a pilot. And I don't use the word proof of concept anymore because it implies throwaway. A pilot puts the client in a position to evaluate usually 3 to 5 packaged applications We pick a subset of users, usually ones that some folks that are very savvy in that space. We try to get a good cross section of what we have in our environment. And then what we do is we execute for about a month's worth of, we stand up the environment, very low cost, as a matter of fact, which plays back to what we were talking about before. So we're going to stand up a small instance of AVD. We're going to select a handful of users, somewhere between 5 and 20, somewhere in there, and we're going to package 3 to 5 applications, and we're going to run it for a month. And we're going to work with you folks to document the testing and the performance and make sure that things worked as we expect. And if at the end of that, yes, we like this and we want to go forward, we have a production ready environment and the pilot now moves into production. It may be, you know what, this isn't going to work for us. I haven't experienced that yet. But in the event that it didn't, that's the beauty of having that in Azure. We tear it down, clear everything out, and we're done in a month.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, look, a lot of times too, Bob, and kind of tying off of that, we have responsibilities to ultimately, put our clients in a position of success when it comes to delivering this message and this vision to the
yep,
board, to their
yep.
executives. What do you envision as, like, what are some of the barriers maybe that nonprofit organizations face when they're looking at the adoption, when they're looking at ensuring that the vision is understood internally, and how do you help that part of the process as well? I want to really paint a picture for our nonprofit clients today.
Well, I think so. The first part about, painting that picture, I think that it's always good to use examples of what others have done, what are the experiences, and benchmarking against others. And it's not that everybody else is doing it, therefore you should too. But I do think that there are trends and there are services that can be leveraged and make sense to leverage in our environment. So the things that we want to do is understand aspirational goals. Are we trying to save money? Is enhanced security important to you? So we really want to work with the team to understand and then couch the technology and marry that to what those folks are trying to get done. I mean, if we're not doing that, then we're wasting everybody's time. But if we're able to understand what are the business goals, and sometimes we can even take that further and extend that to the constituents and what are you trying to do with them, we can help that situation as well. AVD is a great example of extending that to constituents if there are pieces of our applications we want to extend. So overall, I think it's understanding aspirational goals, what is the company trying to accomplish, and couch this technology and demonstrate how that can address those goals.
Beautifully said. Bob, anything else that you want to touch on during our time today? Where can people find you? Where can people find BDO?
You know, I think even my family makes comments, oh, BDO knows, or, whatever the tagline that folks remember.
Yeah.
Do you know BDO or BDO knows? So I think that's a good place. But more importantly, bob.pugh at bdo.com is my email address. I'm also on LinkedIn and all that other business. But, we've had some tremendous working relationships here. And I think the message back to your constituents, Carson, is that the partnership is strong. Microsoft brings in a lot of financial aspects. We can bring the experiences and expertise that we've done being, with advanced specializations in that space. I think it's just a real strong play.
Beautifully said. Bob, this was amazing. Thank you for not only the time today, but the incredible work that you do for our clients each and every day, bolstering security, helping them save costs, but also unlock a better future. Thank you.
You bet, Carson. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.